What's going on, everybody? It's James here, back with you for the last video for the AFC East. So we've gone over three teams: Buffalo, New England, and Miami Dolphins. So for this one, we're going to do the New York Jets. New York Jets, they've done a lot this year, actually, in the NFL draft. They drafted a lot of really good guys. I think this is a team that has improved somewhat. I think they have improved. I think they have the right coaching staff. I think their quarterback is going to get better. Um, the question is, though, how many wins is that going to translate for them? And that's kind of the biggest thing for everybody when they look at NFL teams. How are some of these things that how are they all going to play in retrospect? So, I mean, we just have to really be able to analyze the schedule, be able to figure out where they're going to win, where they're going to lose, and just try to do what we can to really predict the best record for this team. So a lot of questions come for the Jets is going to be like Zach Wilson in the second year. Is he going to be able to play his A game in the second year? Is he going to be able to explode? Is that offensive line going to be able to hold for him? Because that offensive line for the Jets last year was atrocious. They were terrible. Is the defense going to be able to improve? Is the run defense going to be able to stop the run? And is Robert Saleh, the coach for the Jets, who was a recent defensive coordinator for the 49ers, is he going to be able to carry this team to the next level this year? And how many wins is he going to be able to get? I mean, these are a lot of questions that we're really thinking about for this Jets team and for this future. They have a really bright future ahead of them, but it's all dependent on how they're going to play it out. So let's take a look at the schedule and we'll see how they do. So let's pull up the schedule right here. And here we go. We've got the New York Jets. So week one, they start off with a really weeks 1 through 4, they play the AFC North. Every single team in the AFC North, which is actually it's better for them, and that way they just get it done and out of the way, so they don't have to worry about it later and see like where if these teams do improve later on. But we'll look. Let's take a look at one at a time. So the first one we're looking at is they're playing the Ravens at Jet Stadium. This is an interesting game because I've said it before. I'll say it again, and I will talk more about it when I get to do their season prediction video. But the Ravens they have a lot of questions this year. Are they really going to be that great this year? The defense has improved. I think they added a lot of depth on their defense, but I think the problems that the Ravens are going to really run into is the passing game. And it's not so much Lamar that you can blame. It's really are any of those receivers going to be able to be able to catch? Are they going to be able to get open for certain, crucial passes for Lamar when it gets into crunch time? I mean, these are really things to really think about. And the Jets, believe it or not, is actually a pretty challenging game for the Ravens. And the Ravens are a challenging team for the Jets to beat because it's really going to heavily rely on defenses for both sides. I think both defenses are very good, and I think they're both going to be able to stop each other from running. So if the Jets are able to, if they're able to contain Lamar, and Zach Wilson has a pretty good game against this really, really challenging Ravens secondary, the Jets might be able to pull out this win. But if Lamar has a great game and Zach Wilson decides to revert back to rookie Zach Wilson, then the Ravens are going to win. So this is a really tough game to really decide for week one because I think both teams are really going to want to try to figure out each other in this game and what their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, and it's going to show very early. So I think some people may think this is not a really good matchup. I think this is actually a pretty decent matchup for both teams. But I think I'm going to give the Ravens the slight edge here. I think it will be a closer game than people think. But John Harbaugh is just a very good a very good coach. Excuse me. He's a very good coach. This Ravens defense has always been nasty. They've always been great. They've always been able to stop, teams that have not been successful on offense on the other side. So I think the Ravens I think right now they're a better team, but that could change in week one. I can definitely see the Jets being able to upset the Ravens, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Ravens are going to beat the Jets in week 1. Then in week 2, they play the Cleveland Browns at the Browns. Now, this is a game where it's early in the season for the Browns. Deshaun Watson, regardless, is going to be suspended. And it's going to be pretty early in the season. And it might even lead on to like almost midway through the season when he might be able to come back. So they're either going to play Baker or they're going to play Jacoby Brissett. And with the Browns, we know they have a great run game. We know they really revamped on their offensive scheme with receivers. They have Amari Cooper now, and the Browns defense is pretty good too. They have Myles Garrett and they have Javion Clowney and those guys. It's a tough game for the Jets, but what makes it difficult is finding out who the quarterback is going to be. Is Baker going to be there? Is Jacoby Brissett going to be there? It's all really questions to really think about if you are a Jets fan and if you're a Jets player. So it's a tough one. But I think in week 2, I think if it's Jacoby Brissett, I think the Jets can find a way to beat the Browns because I feel like the Jets are sneaky. They're a sneaky team where they can beat good teams, but they don't always show it. And I think because they're going to take advantage of because Deshaun Watson is not going to be playing and they're not going to know who the quarterback is until, when it gets closer to the season. I think the Jets find ways to be able to stop Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I think they can stop the run game. And I think if they really do pass quite a bit, I think they can be able to cover, some of these receivers up pretty well. So I think the Jets can find a way to beat the Browns early on in the season. So that'll be interesting to see. Then week 3, the Cincinnati Bengals. Last year, the Jets beat the Bengals at home. I don't see that happening again. I think the Bengals have been an improved team. The only question really I have for the Bengals is the offensive line. Are they going to be able to protect Joe Burrow more this year? And which I do think that it has improved slightly. So, but I think regardless of that offensive line, I think Joe Burrow is very mobile outside of the pocket, and I think he can make some big plays. And I think I just can't see Cincinnati losing to the Jets 2 years in a row. The Bengals should win this game. It's going to be a good game. But I think the Bengals should beat the Jets, though, in week 3. Then in week 4, it gets really interesting. They go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, Pittsburgh is a team we're really going to be able to find out this year. We're going to see if they're really, if they're going to be a really good team. Are they going to be a below average team? Or they're just going to, be right there in the middle, either hot or cold. We don't really know right now. We don't really know who the quarterback is going to be starting at. Right now, we're going to assume it's Mitchell Trubisky. And then later on in the season, Kenny Pickett might be able to get the start. But I don't know. This is really interesting. This is a good game. This is kind of similar to the Ravens and the Browns game. I think the Jets are more than capable of beating any of these 3 teams, the Ravens, the Browns, and the Steelers. But because it's in Heinz Stadium, it's not in MetLife this time. It's because it's in Heinz Field, and Heinz Field is an absolute madhouse playing in. I think the Steelers win in week 4 against the Jets. Mike Tomlin is just too good of a coach. I think Zach Wilson's going to have a really tough time with that Pittsburgh 7. And I think they're just going to have a tough time with this Pittsburgh team. I think they're just better coached, better defense. And for some right now, I would say they would have a better roster. Do they have a better quarterback? I don't know. I think you can make an argument that Zach Wilson might be better than Kenny Pickett or Mitchell Trubisky, but we're not going to say that right now because I think they're all just right now, they're all about at the same level right now in terms of talent. So, but I think the Steelers are going to win because it's Heinz Stadium. It's tough to win there. Just ask Tom Brady. He's always had a rough time winning there. He's won games there, but it's always been tough for him. So I think the Steelers win in week 4. Then in week 5, we talked about this in the Miami Dolphins video. Miami goes up to New Jersey to play the Jets. I think the Jets do beat the Dolphins this year. I kind of picked them last year to beat the Dolphins at home. And I think this year they're going to be able to do that because I think, I think this is a good matchup for both teams. I think they're both pretty evenly matched. I think they're both, I think both coaches are at the same level too. and it's also a conference game. It's a division rivalry game. And when you're in the division rivalry games, they're always good games, regardless of what their records are. So I think they're going to be able to split the Dolphins this year. I think they're going to win in week 5, and then they're going to win later. And I think the Dolphins are going to beat them later on in the season. So we're going to be looking at week 18. So we'll take a look at that. So the Dolphins will win there in week 18. And then we're going to look at week 6. This is the Green Bay Packers at Green Bay. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, it's his homeland. You just don't bet against Aaron Rodgers at home. Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to win this game, I believe. You just don't get it. You just don't bet against Aaron Rodgers at home. You really don't. So I'm going to go with that. Then week 7, you're looking at the Jets, and they're going to Denver, the Denver Broncos. I think the Broncos right now, because they have the quarterback advantage, but it's the coaching there. And is Russell Wilson really going to be able to make – is he really going to step it up at this rate? Playing for a new team, learning his new receivers, the run game with Javonte Williams. I think Javonte Williams is really going to make a big impact on this team this year. It's a tough game. But I think the Broncos win it. They have the better quarterback in Russell Wilson. They have a better running game, and their defense is very, very underrated. The defense was okay last year. They were solid, but I think they revamped on that defense this year, and they have Russell Wilson now. They have a more mobile quarterback. They have a quarterback that can make really, really good plays and matches really well with these receivers. And I think Russell Wilson is probably going to run more than he has the last several years with Seattle. So I think the Broncos win in week 7. They beat the Jets. Then week 8, the New England Patriots are going to go to Jet Stadium, MetLife Stadium, play there. I think the Patriots are a better coached team. Mac Jones should be able to find ways to beat the Jets. I think the Patriots are. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets split with the Patriots this year. But right now, I think because of the coaching, I'm going to pick the Patriots to sweep the Jets, and that will be that there. So I think I'd like to say they're going to split them, but I don't think they're going to this year. That's just my opinion. I don't think they're going to split with the Patriots. And then week 9, you got one tough team after another. You got the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, we've talked about it many times. The Bills are just a phenomenal AFC team. They're the best team in the AFC right now. One of the best, at least, if not the best in the league. They're just a phenomenal team. It's going to be very hard I think it's going to be very hard for any team to beat the Bills this year. And I don't see the Jets being one of them personally. So I think the Bills win in week 9. And then after that, you're looking at the bye week right here. So you're not really looking that great, despite with all those draft picks that you've got after week 10. You're looking at a 2-something record, which is not pretty, as we all know. Because after that, they go to play New England, and I think they're going to lose to New England here. Then week 12 gets interesting. The Chicago Bears go to play in New Jersey to MetLife Stadium to play the Jets. In Chicago, we talked about it a little bit. Chicago really doesn't have a lot. They don't have a lot that really scares you. The defense is not where it used to be. And without Khalil Mack there, it's not the same defense. It really is not the same defense. There's really no weapons that the offensive side of Chicago has that's really scary. And their offensive line is not really good. So they don't really have a really good roster right now on paper, I don't believe. But does that mean like Justin Fields can't get better in the future? No, I absolutely believe Justin Fields can get better in the future. But the Chicago team didn't do a whole lot to help him out to be successful. So I really wouldn't be shocked if the Jets beat the Bears at home, because I think the Jets did everything what they needed to do in the draft. They do have a good coach. I'm not sure about Chicago's coach. I don't know how they're going to be this year in terms of coaching, but I just like what the Jets did in the offseason, I think it's going to pay dividends for them. So I could see them beating Chicago this year. So they'll get their third win on the year. And then week 13, the Jets at Minnesota. I've said it before. I said it again. I like what the Vikings are doing. I love Kirk Cousins and company and all them. That offense is pretty good. Not just pretty good. They're pretty solid. They could be close to elite level, but I don't want to go that far because they're not there yet. But I think the Vikings win this game. I think they're a better coached team. I think Kirk Cousins and I think the defense for the Jets is going to have a tough time being able to stop Justin Jefferson. They could be able to give Dalvin Cook some trouble because of that run defense being so good. But I think a lot of what Kirk Cousins can do, I think he's going to get enough comfortability with being in the pocket for this team and being able to make some crucial throws when needed to. I think it can be a close game, though. I think the Jets can pull off an upset, per se. I think they can do that, but I just don't see it right now, though. I think this Vikings team is better than what people are really giving them credit for. And yeah, and it's in Minnesota, and it's tough to play there. It gets very loud. So give me the Vikings for that. I think the Vikings will win. Then week 14, they play the Bills at Orchard Park. Again, like we talked about the Bills, they're just a great team. They're gonna sweep the Jets this year. Love the Bills. They're gonna be able to do that, I think. And then week 15, you've got the Detroit Lions at the New York Jets. This is a good game. And I really, really, really want to pick the Detroit Lions. But something tells me that it could happen. I really do think the Detroit Lions can find ways to beat the Jets because the Jets have always been known to be a really good team somehow. And then the next week they can lose to a team that they just don't match up very well, that match up well for them, but they end up losing like 1,000-3 or something like that. So they end up getting killed by a really bad team. So I don't know. That's an interesting game. And it's an interesting game for Jared Goff, too, on the other side of the ball for the Lions. What's Jared Goff going to be able to do? Is he going to be able to make all the plays against that tough Jets defense? Yeah, I'm going to go back to that one because that one's kind of an interesting one to look at. Then week 16, we're going to go to week 16 where they play Jacksonville. I think the Jets beat Jacksonville. Jacksonville is just not a very good team. They didn't do anything really to help Trevor Lawrence in the draft. And that's a shame because I like Trevor Lawrence. I want him to be really very successful, but this Jaguars team is just killing him right now. They're not doing anything that's trying to help him get better. They're trying to make him worse. I feel like, at least. They haven't done anything to get him any help. The only really solid player that carries that team is James Robinson, their running back. And I don't think he's going to have an easy game, too, against this Jets defense. I really don't. So I think the Jets are going to find a way to beat them on Thursday Night Football. And then week 17, the Jets at the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks are not going to be the greatest team this year. I think they're really going to struggle without Russell Wilson. I don't know how Drew Lock is really going to be. I don't think he's going to really – I don't know if he's going to be the long-term answer for the Seahawks team. But they did get some – they have Noah Fant, which they got in that trade when they traded Russell Wilson to Denver. So they got that trade. Is it going to pay off for the Seahawks, though, by having Noah Fant and Drew Lock? And they still have DK Metcalf too, and they still have Tyler Lockett. So they still have some good players. Don't get me wrong, but without Russell Wilson there, it's very tough to decide whether they're going to be good enough because Russell Wilson was the one that really carried that team to success, during his tenure there. So I can see this going either way, to be quite honest with you. But I think because Seattle's such a really loud place to play, and Pete Carroll always finds ways to win in most crucial times at the end of the season, I think the Seahawks do get the advantage on this one. Just because it's in Seattle, it's a tough place to play. They always find ways to win games when They're not favored to. So I do think the Seahawks do beat the Jets though in week 17. But we have, and then we have, no, let's go to week 18. Then they got to go to Miami. I think Miami beats them in Miami. I think Miami, in that game is going to be better than they were previously. I think they'll make some adjustments, but more importantly, they're at home. And that's where a lot of teams struggle when they go down to South Florida. So Dolphins win in week 18. Then we have to go back to week 15 when they play Detroit. I really want to pick Detroit this year. I think Detroit is going to be an improved game, and I think they're going to win some more games this year than they did last year. But something's telling me that the Jets are going to find a way to beat them. I really do. So, but it's interesting. Is Jared Goff better than Zach Wilson, though? Is that offense for the Lions better than the Jets offense? It's a really tough game, and it's not really like a great game per se to watch, but it's tough though because they're both teams that are trying to improve. They're both teams that want to have a success. They both have coaches that are willing to win, and that's always what you want in this league because it's not easy to win in this league. So this is a tough one. I think I'm going to go with the Jets, though. I think I'm going with the Jets because they're at home. And Detroit, Jared Goff typically doesn't always play that well in December, per se, in the freezing cold. And the Lions as a whole really doesn't either. So I think the Jets they can find a way to beat the Lions, but would I be shocked if the Lions did beat the Jets? Absolutely not. I think it's anybody's ball game. I'd really like Detroit to try to win this game because I want Detroit to win some more games this year because I think the coach Dan Campbell is the heart of that team, and he wants his team to play the best that they possibly could. All those players, they're all very feisty players, and they're all about winning. And I really do want to see them win some games this year. But it's really hard to pick right now if they're going to be able to beat the Jets at Jet Stadium. But we'll see. We'll see. You never really know. So now I have the record at 5-12. I think this is a pretty good, accurate record for the Jets. It's pretty realistic because while their draft has gotten much better, but there's still a lot of question marks as far as like that offensive line and the defense per se. I think the defense is not as big of an issue as the offensive line. The offensive line last year was atrocious, and I think a lot of Jets fans are very worried about that. And one of the biggest questions is Zach Wilson going to be able to build up in in year 2, and which he might. I think Zach Wilson did have some upright last year towards the end of the season. I think he can be successful in this league. I think he can be successful with the Jets, but I think this Jets team has to be able to be willing to help with that cause. If they want to win games, I think the Jets need to really be able to do their part, being able to draft the right players, being able to trade off the right players, and they have to build a team around Zach Wilson. I think if Zach Wilson does get a better offensive line, I think he can find some time to throw to players like Corey Davis and players like that. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a pretty good prediction for the Jets. They could win less than 5 games, but I don't think so. I think anywhere between 5 and 6 wins, I think is good enough for the Jets. I think they'll be good around there. So that ends it for all of the AFC East teams. So those were all my predictions. And for this one, for the Jets, please let me know what you liked about this video. Please leave your comments down below. How many games do you think the Jets are going to win? Or you think they're going to be good? Are they going to be bad? Or are they going to be mediocre? Let me know in the comments down below. And then I will see you for the next video, which we're going to do the AFC North team. So we'll do that in the morning. I hope you all have a great night, and we will talk to you in the morning.